let's talk about the Marilyn Monroe moment where she famously appeared at his birthday party. He was the sitting president of the United States. She was the biggest star in the world. She showed up in the saucy dress that Kim Kardashian would get years later and show up at the Met Gala in. I just threw up a little in my mouth. And Marilyn, who just oozed sex appeal very naturally, like no one before or since, sang happy birthday in an incredibly sultry and sexy way.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
You write about that moment and you write about Jacqueline Kennedy's reaction to it. Tell us.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of those, like, it's on par with the moon landing in terms of an unprecedented moment in American culture. So Marilyn, who right before that, by the way, had been backstage in her green room with Bobby, Jack's brother, having sex with him, and then takes the stage. She's a little drunk. She's a little sort of feeling it from her little tryst. Takes the stage at Madison Square Garden, a packed house of 30,000 people. The president of the United States, the married president of the United States in the audience, coos happy birthday to him in such a way that she is telling the world, we are having an affair. Mm-hmm. Jackie Kennedy, full well knowing what's about to probably happen, stays at home with her horses and her children, says nothing, does nothing, but sends in her absence a very clear message that your first lady shares your values and is also appalled. And what also is interesting about Jackie is that for all of JFK's affairs, this one threatened her the most. This one, if this had gotten out, it would have been the most humiliating. Marilyn Monroe was the biggest sex symbol on the planet. She threatened Jack. She said, if you don't cut this off now and have zero contact with her again, I'm going to divorce you. I'm going to take the kids and you can kiss a second term goodbye. And what did Jack do? That was it. Cut her off. And that led to Marilyn's decompensation and ultimate death, which he and Bobby probably had a hand in.
Bobby Kennedy was in LA on the day Marilyn died. And Bobby Kennedy's son, RFK was on our show, and I asked him about theories that his dad had something to do with her death. And he said, the only people who say that are people who are trying to sell books. It's not true. But there's a lot of evidence to show that Bobby Kennedy was in LA on the day that she died. But there's not evidence that he killed her or, had a hand in it directly. It's just suspicion. But it's not suspicion, Maureen, that both Bobby and JFK helped ruin this woman.
They tossed her around like a sexual plaything. They would call their father, Joe, with Marilyn on the phone to prove that they were having sex with her. She was like a trophy. She was this disposable toy. I mean, dogs treat their chew toys with a little more care. What they did to her was an abomination. And Bobby was in LA on the day she died. That's part of historical record. There was audio that disappeared after her death that 20 or 30 years later, another journalist found, worked with a former detective with LAPD. On that audio, Bobby is heard in Marilyn's house yelling at Marilyn, where is it? Where the fuck is it? We need it. We will make any arrangements you want, but it's important to the family. And then on that audio, you hear a thump. So something or someone got pushed into a wall or down on the floor. I'm going to say maybe 30 years later, ABC News, so this is the 80s, so 20 years later, ABC News was about to run a primetime special under the news banner about what happened to Marilyn Monroe and the Kennedy brothers' involvement. And they had that audio. Within hours of airtime, the head of ABC News yanked it. He was very close with Ethel Kennedy, but claimed that there was no conflict of interest in said decision. And Megyn, I think we've talked about this a bit, but, for those elitists or members of the establishment who laugh at those Americans who believe that there is a deep state, you read stuff like this and you understand why.
Yeah. The FBI was bugging her phones.
And CIA, they were bugging her. They had her phone records. What else goes missing after her death? Phone records uncovered later by a British journalist named Anthony Summers. You can read it in his book, Goddess, about Marilyn. About 8 desperate calls that Marilyn had made to Bobby at the Department of Justice when he was serving as Attorney General of the United States. Those had gone missing. Why? Who got them? Where'd they go? Why were they vanished? Who were they protecting?
And what was she calling about?
What was she calling about? Yeah.
Look, we know from the Ted Kennedy, Mary Jo Kopechne story what the Kennedys will do to cover up a family member's sick deed. And that involved what was essentially a murder. I mean, it was, he drove off that bridge, not intentionally, but while drunk with this 29-year-old woman in the car, and he left her. You document this very well in the book too. He left her to die in that car when she was savable. And the reaction of the Kennedy family was not, that's terrible, take responsibility. It was to deny, protect, cover up, and save his career, which they did. Do you ever think, how can I work this hard and still be in debt? The piles of overdue bills, the threatening phone calls, the never having money to do anything, it just won't stop. If you are trapped in debt, Done with Debt can be a way out. They have developed aggressive new strategies to end your debt permanently and completely. Done with Debt stands between you and harassing bill collectors. They tirelessly negotiate with your creditors to lower or even forgive what you owe, and they do it all without bankruptcy or new loans. One client said, "One phone call saved us a fortune. I wish we did this long ago." Done with Debt has unique strategies to get you out of debt faster and put more money in your pocket every month. But you need to hurry because some debt solutions are time sensitive and you don't want to miss out. Visit donewithdebt.com, talk with one of their debt relief strategists for free. You have nothing to lose except your debt. Go to donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.